story of Teen Challenge, here it comes. So Teen Challenge, mate, for me anyway, probably just best starting at the basics, where life for me was normal. Average Joe Blogs, I am an average Joe Blogs. Working shorts, saved when I was 20, done church, done youth fellowship, done youth leadership, all that came with it. Was married to Joanne, had one son at the time. Really from that time onwards, Billy, I was happy. Happy doing life, happy with my job, happy the way life was going, involved with things, involved with church and evangelism and all that there was. But the story of Teen Challenge really all changed for me. One night, sitting in the living room, reading scriptures at 11 o'clock at night, devotionally going through the book of Acts. Wasn't looking for anything, wasn't asking for anything, was happy where I was in my life. And that night it was Acts chapter 9 and verse 6 that arrested me. And it said simply, arise and go into the city and I'll show you what to do. And that night I knew that my life was going to change. Something was different. And the first reaction I had was, don't do this. And I remember phoning my youth pastor, Pastor Shaw, and says, Pastor Shaw, I believe God just spoke to me tonight. And we talked for 2 hours on the phone. He says, Lee, there's 2 words that I'm going to give you, and they're going to guard you and guide you. And I says, what are they? He says, obey him and let him open the doors. The feeling that I had that night, my life was going to change. I knew that it was going to change. And all I can say was that I went into the city, I parked my car, and I simply went in with the attitude of, here I am, now show me what it is you want to show me. And I began just where I had parked my car, I began to walk the streets of Belfast. I began to pray. It was early in the morning, and I walked up and down streets of Belfast in the city and just asking, Lord, show me what it is, show me what it is. And as I continued to walk, maybe a couple of hours had passed, and I was getting tired, I was getting weary, and I simply came to a place and I thought, you know what, there's no answer. And as I walked back towards the car, there was a scripture engraved in a wall. It said on it, the word of the Lord shall stand forever. I remember when I looked at it and went, wow. And it encouraged me. All it done was encourage me to keep going, because I was now getting tired, and I kept going. But this time I decided to go to the other side of the town, Shaftesbury Square End. And all I began to do was walk and pray. And as I was walking and praying, again up and down those streets, right from one end of the city to the other end. And I kept doing that, just asking, Lord, show me what it is. And I came to a point in the city centre, and I just found myself standing in the island where the big TV is. And as I came to stand at that point, I began to weep. I just began to cry. I thought to myself, why am I crying? Why am I in this state? And I remember the Spirit of God spoke to me and says, Lee, there's people living in hell and you know nothing about it. And all of a sudden I had a passion, an incredible passion for souls, an incredible passion for people. I remember standing in that one spot, and the Spirit of God says, look north, south, east and west. And where I was standing, Billy, I could just turn around and I could look down up Shaftesbury Square, Botanic Avenue, Donegal Pass, Dublin Road and Great Victoria Street. And I just stood and wept. There could have been people driving past me, looking at me, going, what is this guy on about? And I walked up Shaftesbury Square, and at that time there was a nightclub that had left their sign out from the night before, and it was a massive 8-foot caption of a devil with his arms in the air, and across it was wrote the words hell. And I remember just standing looking at it and going, it's as if the Lord was saying, there's people living in hell, and there's people going to hell. And the burden I had was incredible. And I remember I kept walking, and I remember I came to a church, and I believed there was an answer in this church. I believed, Lord, there has to be an answer, and I felt there was an answer. And there was a massive big door on the end of this church. And I knocked it, and no one came. And I knocked again. It was about 3rd or 4th time I knocked it, because I felt there was an answer in this church. This was still early in the morning, and I knocked, and a wee woman came out about 70 years of age. She says, you alright, son? I looked at her and I says, if I'll be honest with you, I'm not. She says, what's wrong? And I just told her everything. Tears in my eyes, I told her how I was feeling. And she just looked at me and she says, I'll pray for you. And with that, she closed the door. And I walked away, and I walked back to my car. And with all this going on in my heart and everything that was happening, and I went back and I told my wife Joanne, and I says, I never got an answer. I says, but Joanne, this had happened, and I began to share with her. And all that week I just thought about everything that happened. And then I came to the following week, and again, it was a Saturday morning. And I said, I'm going to park my car again, and I'm going to go back into the city, and I'm going to walk the streets again. I'm going to pray again. I'm going to pray for people. And I don't know who I was praying for, but I'm going to pray. And I just asked me, Lord, show me the answer. Show me what you want me to do. And this time when I came to the crossroads, and I remember saying, Lord, where do you go? What way do you turn? Do you go left? Do you go right? Do you go forward? What way do you turn here? I need an answer. And I remember I was about to turn right, and a hand reached out and grabbed my arm. I really squeezed it tight, and I turned around and I looked, and it was the wee woman from the church the week before. And she says to me, son, have you got your answer yet? And I said to her, no, I haven't. And she says, I'm praying for you. And she walked away. And I just knew in that moment, I'm going back to that church. There's got to be an answer in that church. I went back to that church. I stood at that church. And I never realised the week before, but there was a massive glass front on that church, a big door. And I noticed it was there, and there was a massive big Bible. I remember walking up to it. I stood on the porch and I read John's Gospel chapter 4. I knew what the chapter was about, and I stood for a moment. I know that, but I said I'm going to read it anyway. And all I can say is the Spirit of God made it alive to me. Standing after reading it and going, Lord, what are we going to do? And in that moment of time, He says to me, now prepare to go to New York City. And I remember wrestling with that. I says, I can't go to New York City. I don't like flying. And the whole way from there till I got to my car, I wrestled with going to New York. And I walked straight through the doors and I said, Joanne, I'm going to New York City. She says, why? I says, I don't know. She says, what are you going to do? I says, I don't know. I'm just going to New York City. She said to me, okay, you go and see what you need to do. The only knowledge I really had of New York City was David Wilkerson of Times Square Church. And I prepared to go to Times Square Church. I made connections myself to go to Times Square Church and asked them, could I come and visit and spend some time with them? They says, yes, come, we'd love to have you. There was everything put in place. The unfortunate thing was, as we got closer to it, they says, Lee, we can't bring you across, time's not going to work out. And it really all fell through in a matter of a night. And I remember sitting again in my living room, and I says, Lord, I thought you wanted me to go to New York City. And He simply said this to me, I do want you to go to New York City, but I never asked you to go to Times Square Church. And He brought back to my memory the book, The Cross and the Switchblade, which I read as a young Christian. And the first thing I done was phone Brooklyn Teen Challenge. I told them where I was at, I told them my story, and I says, could I come? And they says to me, go, get references from your pastor, send them across, phone us back and we'll have a conversation. They simply said to me, come across, pay your flight, and you can stay at 416 Clinton Avenue, which where it all started, in the Cross and the Switchblade. And that meant staying with drug addicts, gang members, and those that were on the Teen Challenge program. And I simply says, that doesn't sound like a bad deal. Booked my flight, went to New York City. I went to Brooklyn Teen Challenge. I remember walking through the door and shouted through the house, is anybody in? There was no one even there to greet me. And I was shouting through this house, is anybody in? And this big dude came to me and he says, how you doing? Hello. He said to him, I'm here to see Teen Challenge. I'm here to see all that goes on. And he looked at me and he said, are you for real, man? And I says, I am for real. I'm here. People are supposed to meet me. And he says, are you on drugs? Because not many people come to see Teen Challenge. And then one of the leaders came and he handed me a brown envelope and he simply said, read that tonight, go to a sexual and physical abuse seminar tomorrow morning. You're going to be a staff member for your time at Teen Challenge, which was nearly 3 weeks. And I says, whoa, I'm not here for that. I says, I'm only here to observe. I'm not here to be a staff member. And he simply said to me this, let me tell you where we're at. We're short-staffed. You're here, staff member for the next 2 weeks. And I simply remember walking up to the bedroom that I was staying in. And I says, Lord, I did not come here for this. And that moment of time, I think the reality hit me of what I had walked into. I went to the sexual and physical abuse seminar the next day. I sat in it and I says, Lord, I'm in the wrong place. I'm not here for this. And all I can say, Billy, is for the next few days, if I could have got home and left Teen Challenge, I would have left, but I couldn't because I didn't have a Visa card. And I remember phoning home to Joanne and saying, Joanne, I should not be here. She says, what's wrong? And I was sharing with her and just says, I've got this all wrong. She says to me, well, you're going to have to stick it out. We then went into the ghettos, came across the wrong people. In the ghetto, I needed to go to the toilet. We were doing an outreach, and in the outreach there was a safe zone put in place, and because it was in the ghetto and because it was a black ghetto, I was white, I wasn't allowed to go outside of the safe zone. Problem with that was, we were there all day long. To go to the toilet, you had to leave the safe zone. To go to a church, to go to the toilet. And I had to leave the safe zone. And I said to these two big guys, I says, boys, would you take me to the toilet? They said to me, yes, come with me. But they took me a shortcut. So rather than going around a proper route, and we went down these dingy alleyways in the ghetto, and there was a drugs deal going down. And when the drugs deal was going down, they shouted, Lee, you gotta run. And I says, where are we running to? And they just lifted me up and they ran with me and got me to the church. And I says, boys, what's going on? He says, a drugs deal was going down. Lee, listen, trouble, you're white, you're dead. And I says, well, let's stay in this church for a while. Until it all, what we thought it went down peacefully, I could get back. Well, I says to them, boys, don't be going through now the shortcut. So we came out of the church, walking down the proper route. And now, if you've ever heard of the Bloods and the Cribs, well, the Bloods met me. And the Bloods were going around the proper route. The Bloods surrounded me and says, what is this white bleep 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 doing in our neighbourhood? And I just thought at that point, I am for it. And in a moment of time, the pastor of the church came running out. And as he came running out, he simply came and says, I never got to say cheerio. And I says, thank God he came running out. And he says, boys, what's going on? One of the guys said, we're just saying hello to our foreign neighbour. And I said to myself, oh, you're about to say hello already? You're about to platter me. And he knew that. And he says, let these boys get back round to where they need to be. And we got back round. And all I can say at that point, I got round to the safe zone. And if I came to Teen Challenge with this thought, I don't want to be here. No, I did not want to be there. I stood with my back to a tree the rest of the day. The next thing, the drug dealer came round. He came round with a British bulldog, and he stood beside me, and I'm thinking, I don't even want to talk to you, pal. And he came round, he started asking me questions and started talking about his dog, and I just didn't want to speak to him. All I could think of was, Lord, get me through this. And the cops then pulled around, and it was something you see out of a movie. They just got him, pulled him over the front of the car, stood and looked at me and said, is that your dog? I said, no, and took him away. And I just remember saying, Lord, I didn't come here for this. Billy, I wanted nothing to do with Teen Challenge. I went back to my room that night and I says, Lord, I don't want to be here. Problem was, I had to preach that night, and I didn't want to preach. I didn't want to do anything but lie down and try and work out how can I get home. And the only thing that spurred me on was this. The place where I was preaching was where David Wilkerson preached. And because he preached there, I wanted to preach there. I remember getting in just broken now and saying, Lord, I want to preach. And I prepared this message back at home in Belfast. I was preparing it thinking it was for the guys I was going to preach to. It was for me. And the night that I preached that was the night that it all changed. I preached a message about the love of God, the cross of Jesus Christ. And I remember that night I was preaching to myself. And that night I remember going back to my room that I lay in, and I went, what has happened? I now want to be here. The love that I had for these individuals, where does this come? It was the love of God. The love of Christ totally transformed me. And that next day, we were now going into the black ghetto. And I was getting in revived, wanting to be there. Rub shoulders with them. Rub shoulders with gang members, heroin addicts, cocaine addicts, alcoholics, prostitutes. All the depravity of life. And here was the thing. I loved them. I absolutely loved them. Sat with them, knelt with them, sat on curbs with them, talked to them about their problems, talked to them about the gospel, and all of a sudden I was loving it. Went back to Teen Challenge Brooklyn, cried with them, hugged them, embraced them, sat with them, ate together. Absolutely incredible. The passion that I got that day in Belfast for the love of souls was now confirmed. It was for those in Teen Challenge. I came home, here's what I was at. I'm now going to start a Teen Challenge outreach in Belfast. Had no money, had no support, just a vision. It was a vision for people in our city. My wife was on board, she caught the vision. I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to do this? But there was a guy from Teen Challenge Ireland coming to preach in Belfast. I went to the church he was preaching at. I introduced myself. I chatted with him. He says, I can see you have a passion. I can see the hand of God's in this. He says, do you want to come to Wales with me? And I'll introduce you to people in Teen Challenge. I went to Teen Challenge with him down south of Ireland. I met with those in Teen Challenge. Pastor John Macy, shared my heart with them, shared the vision with them. He was the director of Teen Challenge UK. They were now saying, listen, we'll give you the name of Teen Challenge, we'll help you. They were going to come across one night, 10th of March 2007, and they were going to put on a drama of how to reach out and launch the ministry of Teen Challenge. But the reality was, at that time we had nothing. And my heart was to get a bus and to get us onto the streets. We got a team of people in those early days, and all we done was went into the parks with 2 flasks and plastic bags of food. We met with young people that were struggling with drugs and alcohol, and we just now had a vision of reaching them. As much as we enjoyed walking the streets, I wanted to get a bus. I remember one day walking to the church, and a guy was walking out of the church as I was walking in to get literature. He says, have you anything that you have need of? I don't know why he asked it, but that's what he asked me. And I simply said to him, I need a bus, and just shared my heart with him. And I had never met him before. And he left, and I went on into the church. He met me the week after, and he says, son, do you remember I asked you a question? He says, I got into my car and I asked, why did I ask him that? And he says, the Lord had said to him at that time, whatever he has need of, you're going to buy him it. Here I am. What do you have need of? And I says, I need a bus, and I want a bus, and here's what I want it for. I want to reach people. I want to take the gospel. I want to talk about freedom. I want to talk about the hope that there is in Christ. I want to talk about freedom after addiction. And he says, well, you go and find a bus. He says, and you come and let me know the price and I'll buy it. I went back and said, and our bus, this is going to cost conversion and everything that we needed, £19,000. And he wrote a cheque there and then. And I took that cheque and I took a photograph of that cheque, because that was one of the first financial miracles of Teenchallenge Belfast. I took that cheque, we bought that bus, and that bus became a vehicle to reach people in Belfast. People came on that bus, people were saved in that bus, people found hope in that bus, people got tea and coffee, bickies and buns in that bus, soup, sandwiches, sausage rolls and hot dogs. That bus became known not so much as the Teen Challenge bus, but as the Jesus bus. When you go on that bus, they'll talk to you about Jesus Christ. Teen Challenge just over the years then grew. Addicts were being rescued, people were being saved. Jesus Christ was now rescuing people from north, south and east and west Belfast. And from what? A vision. A simple vision. But here was the thing, Billy, that the Lord knew that I didn't know. As the drug epidemic grew, he was going to grow Teen Challenge with the drug epidemic. And as things got worse, Teen Challenge grew. We got outreach centres, we got more buses, we got trailers, we got more volunteers. So for me, Billy, the vision was now coming to pass. People were finding Christ, people were finding freedom, and still the vision for going forward is still exactly the same. We want to let people know that there's still hope, there's still freedom, there's still purpose in your life, and that Christ is still interested in people, and that Christ is still in the business of changing lives. In this celebration of 10 years, we're excited to look forward to what God has in store. Amen. Folks, some people ask me, what is the ministry of Teen Challenge all about? The ministry of Teen Challenge is souls. The ministry of Teen Challenge is the broken. The ministry of Teen Challenge is Jesus Christ going to the legions of our society and rescuing them and changing them from glory to glory, that they may receive Christ and the freedom that the cross of Jesus brought, and purchased by his blood and rescued for eternity. That's the ministry of Teen Challenge. Jesus Christ rescuing legions of our day. Hallelujah.